Hey guys, it's me Ryan and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today's video is going to be all about sewing patterns for beginners. And I wanted to do this video for a really long time because I know from when I started sewing, which was the only beginning of this year, that sewing patterns to me were really intimidating. I remember buying my first one and I was really scared to even open it, because I feel like when you're a beginner and you first look at sewing patterns, because there's so many lines and numbers and notions and just like things on them, it can be really intimidating, especially to a beginner or to someone that hasn't even used a pattern before. And making your own patterns is a complete different ball game, which I will be doing videos on. I'll be doing an entire series on that, but today I'm going to be focusing on sewing patterns for beginners, and this here is a standard just commercial sewing pattern. These are the ones that most of you will probably be the most familiar with, because they are sold in any really online fabric store, haberdashery, same with shops like Hobbycraft will sells them, your local fabric shop will sell patterns. This is where I got this one from. I just bought a really standard a commercial sewing pattern because these are the ones you guys are probably most familiar with. And yeah, I'm going to be going over this today. I'm going to be showing you guys everything you need to know about the packet itself, because actually on the back of these it has a lot of information that you should be aware of, which is really useful when buying fabric for your pattern. And then I'm going to be opening this up and showing you guys everything on the pattern, what everything means. So hopefully by the end of this video you will learn something and you also won't feel as intimidated or scared by sewing patterns like you did when you started this video. So that is the goal. And yeah, so I'm just going to be opening this up, telling you guys everything you need to know about them, running through everything on them, and just really giving you a good understanding, because when you really understand them and know what everything means, they are actually really basic and they're actually really easy. And that's what I'm going to be doing in today's video. I really hope you guys enjoy. If you do, give it a thumbs up and also comment down below if you learned something and give me your feedback. And yeah, let's get straight into this video. So first I'm going to start with the packet itself. So on the front of the packet you will have, almost every time on the front of the sewing pattern packet, you will have the illustration of whatever the pattern is. So this one is just a unisex sweater and hoodie. And then at the top you will have the brand, and you will also have the pattern name. So this is the Quick Sew K3045 unisex pattern. Like I said, this is the sweater and hoodie one, and this is in sizes extra small to XL, and usually it will say that at the top somewhere next to the sewing pattern name and the brand. So that is the front. Pretty simple, and there is not much to go over on the front. You're going to want to pay attention to what is on the back, because that is what's most important at this point. So on the back of the sewing pattern you have again what it is, and then at the top you will have suggested fabrics and what this pattern is designed for. So because this pattern is a sweater and a hoodie pattern, it is obviously going to be designed for knits. You're not going to make a sweater or hoodie out of a woven fabric, because it's not going to stretch and it's just not going to be as comfortable. So like it says, this is designed for stretch knits only, and then it gives you some suggested fabrics. Always have to use the suggested fabrics. If you want to use a different knit fabric that isn't suggested, you can. I mean, as long as it works and you think it's fine and you like it, then go for it. But if you're brand new, I do suggest going with the suggested fabrics, because you probably don't know a lot about fabrics at this point. So like I said, it tells you the suggested fabrics on the back. So because this is a knit fabric pattern, the suggested fabrics for this are sweatshirt fleece, French terry, polar fleece, Berber fleece and double knit. So those are the suggested fabrics there. I do recommend you guys picking up your patterns before your fabrics, especially if you're new, because then you know what fabrics to get. If you've already picked up some knit fabrics that you know you want to make something like a hoodie out of, but you haven't bought the pattern, it probably will still work. But that's just a suggestion if you're brand new and you don't really know anything about fabrics or patterns themselves. So I do recommend you guys doing that. So now we've gone over the suggested fabrics and the instructions are included. then comes the important part. So as you guys can see, it gives you the size chart, and then it tells you the fabric required, the amount of fabric required for each version of the pattern. Also tells you how much fabric is required depending on the width of your fabric. So let's start from the top. So as you guys can see, it says standard body measurements, and like I said, this pattern goes from extra small to extra large. Now when it comes to the measurements on the back of the pattern on the packet, this is another reason why I suggest you guys buy your pattern before your fabric. And you guys will see this in the latter part of this video when I open up this pattern. When you look at the sizing on the back of this on the back of your pattern packet, it's going to give you say for example, now I typically would be a size large, and it says the finished size of a large is a 42 inch chest. But I know, because I've opened this pattern before, I know that the actual finished garment size on a large, when it comes to the actual pattern in the packet, is something like 54 inches. So it's like 12 inches bigger than I already am. So because the actual finished garment size on the pattern is much bigger than I typically would wear, like I said, the size large is about 50 odd inches on the chest. I then have to go by the sizing on the finished garment size on the pattern itself. So I will then downsize my typical size, which is a large, to, I think on this pattern I'm an extra small, because the finished garment size is like a 41 inch chest and I'm about a 40 inch chest. So when it comes to the instructions on the back of the packet, I do recommend you guys can buy your fabric depending on the sizing here. When it actually comes to cutting out the pattern you need, the size you need for your measurements, I do recommend looking at the finished garment size on the pattern itself, which I will show you guys later. So as I was saying, it gives you the standard body measurements. So it gives you the size, so again, extra small to extra large. It gives you the chest size for that size. And then it goes to the material required. So when it says fabric requirement allows for nap, one-way design or shading. And then it says extra fabric may be required to match design or for shrinkage. So personally, when it comes to me and when I go fabric shopping for a pattern, whether it's commercial or I've made it myself, I always buy at least half a meter more than I need, simply because when you always should wash your fabrics. Once you've bought them, you should always pre-wash them before making it, because like I said, for shrinkage, but also just in case you make a mistake when cutting out your pattern, or if you just cut out like a collar wrong or you cut out a cuff wrong, you have that extra half a meter or meter to go back again. So I do recommend always buying about half a meter or even a meter, depending on how much the fabric is and your budget. But yeah, I always buy that extra little bit of fabric because it's always good to have it. So now when it comes to the fabric required for this pattern, it gives you the fabric you need for a fabric that is 60 inches wide. If you guys were buying fabric that is so I think 60 inches is, does it say? Yeah, 60 inches is about 150 centimeters wide, which is really, really big. If you guys were buying fabric that is less wide, so about 45 centimeters wide, I'm not going to say take fabric off, but if you wanted to, I'd say take probably about half a meter off the measurement, because you're not going to need as much. We've already gone over the sizing, we've gone over the material required for each view you're making, etc. And then at the very, very bottom, it tells you the notions you need. So if you guys don't know what sewing notions are, like threads, zips, anything that you're going to need to actually construct the garment or fasten it. So buttons and just things like that. If you guys look at the back of your patterns, look at the notions, and again, if you have bought the pattern in your fabric shop or you've bought it online, look at the notions, because online they normally have a picture of the back of this as well. Look at the notions you need and buy everything then if you already don't have it. And so yeah, that is really the basics of the back or the packet of the sewing pattern. It's really, really simple. I hope this makes sense so far. Just look at the back, read everything. like when I first had it, I had to go over things twice or 3 times. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because like I said, there's so much information on sewing patterns, because they don't just come in one size. They come in sizes, like 6 different sizes. So there is going to be a lot of information. But if you guys know your size, it's going to be much easier. Or if you know the size that you're cutting for someone else, it's going to be much easier. So that is the basics of the sewing pattern packet. It is a lot of information on there, but it's really important information. So I really recommend you guys reading your pattern before you buy fabric, or before you buy anything. Read the back of your pattern so you have an idea of what you need to get, the amount of fabric you need to buy, any notions you need to buy. And once you go home and open up your pattern, and now I'm going to open up this pattern and show you guys the pattern itself and go over everything on there, what everything means. So again, it is not as intimidating to you guys out there that are just starting with sewing patterns. So this here is the instructions booklet, I'm going to call it, that you will get in every commercial sewing pattern you buy. So I've brought you guys closer because I want to show you the things on here closer. So up here at the top, as you guys can see, you have your A and B, so what type of garments are actually in this pattern. You then have pieces you need to cut out, and here is the important pieces. So here it says, for view A, use pattern pieces 1 through 6. So here you have all your pattern pieces from 1 to 9. So you know if you're cutting out view B, so view A, sorry. So for this pattern, if you were going to cut out the sweater, you need to cut pattern pieces number 1 to number 6. So that is what these parts here are for. And then for view B, you need to use pattern pieces 1, 2, 3, 7, 8 and 9. So again, you just look at number 1, 2, 3, 7, 8 and 9, see what they are and cut those pieces out for that view of the pattern, if that makes sense. So then it gives you information which I think is really important, especially it's really good to know if you haven't cut anything before, if this is your very first pattern. It actually shows you how to place it on your fabric ready for cutting. Now, I've actually never really followed these, simply because they don't give you the best way. In my opinion, it isn't the best way to cut your pieces out that will use less fabric, so it's not as sustainable. And there are ways to cut fabric out that will use less fabric, so you're not wasting as much. But if you are brand new, just follow this and you will be good to go. So let's look at if you were to cut out fabric for view A. So this here is if you wanted to cut fabric out for view A. Now it gives you a code. So the black is the fabric itself, the white is the pattern piece with the printed side of it up, and then the grey is the pattern piece with the printed size down. And then again, same thing here at the top for view B. So this is a guide on how to cut your pattern piece out on your fabric for view B, which is the hoodie. Again, it labels your selvage edge. The top one here is for sizes extra small to small, and then this one here is for sizes medium to extra large. Once you decide what pattern size you're going to cut, if you want to refer back to this, just refer back to the one with your size on. And that is basically what you really need to know about this instruction part. The rest here is the instructions for constructing the garment itself. I'm not going to go over these because it's going to be different for every pattern. This is basically what your standard pattern, commercial pattern, looks like. So as you guys can see here on the side, it is your sizes. So extra large, large, medium, small and extra small. Now, depending on what size you're going to cut, you will cut along that line. That is pretty simple, very basic. Now, these dots or these triangles here, you guys might be wondering what they are. They are notches, which, because this is a sleeve pattern, they are notches which allow you to actually cut into your pattern, into the seam allowance. So cut this size in, and it will help you later on when constructing your garment, because it tells you where when it comes to constructing garments, it tells you you will need to line up these notches on the sleeve to the notches that would be on the center front or the center back in order to get the sleeve to fit in perfectly. So you guys have probably heard things about notches before. This is what they are. On the front of your sleeve, you will have a single notch. So where this connects to the front of your garment, this is a single notch. And then as you guys can see, it will go up to the neckline. You will also have a notch on the shoulder. So that will help with aligning your neckband or your ribbon, or it will actually help you align up your seams. That is what the notch there for your shoulder is. And then here, as you come down on the back, you have another notch. But what you may notice here is these notches are double, so there's 2 there compared to 1. That is how you know the back and the front of your pattern pieces and your pieces of your garment. The front part of your sleeve and your bodice will have 1 notch because you will need to line up that 1 notch on the sleeve to the 1 notch on the bodice to attach the sleeve, because that is the front. You always notch with 1 at the front. And then the back of your sleeve and also the back of your bodice will have 2 notches, as you guys can see there. So it also says back of the raglan seam. These are raglan sleeves, but it's also the same with any sleeve. And then here it is 1 and it says the front. So that's how you know. The back has 2 notches and the front has 1 notch. Also on the pattern, it will tell you the number of what number it is. So if you guys want to know what one to cut out, depending on what view you're doing, refer back to the instructions and look what pattern pieces you need to cut out. This is number 3. It is for view A and B, the sleeve, and you need to cut 2 of them. And on these patterns, typically on commercial patterns, seam allowance is included. If not, it will say that seam allowance is not included, but typically they are, and on this pattern, 1/4 of an inch seam allowance is included. But this line here, as you guys can see, going across, this line here going across is the shorten or lengthen line. So if you wanted to shorten or lengthen your pattern, this is where you would cut and do it. This line here going down is your grain line. So you place your pattern on your fabric on the grain. So the grain line is typically parallel to your selvage. So you place this line going parallel to your selvage. So typically, say now there was fabric underneath this, and the selvage edge should be running down like this. So then this grain line is parallel to it, if that makes sense. If you laid your fabric out and your selvage edge was going across like this way, this line, instead of being this way, it would need to be across. So you would just turn the pattern so that grain line is parallel to the selvage edge of your fabric. Here this line says stretch of fabric. So where your fabric stretches, if your fabric stretched, like if you hold your fabric and stretch it this way, this line should be going that way, and then vice versa. If it stretches on the vertical, turn it so your fabric is stretched like that. And then just these last 2 lines here, again, these might not even be on your pattern depending on what it is. View A, cuff seam, so that is where the seam is for your cuff, so you just cut it there. And then view B, this is where the hem allowance is. So view B, this includes 1 inch hem allowance. So if you were cutting view A, you cut the size and you cut it down to here, and then you cut across, and then you will add on your ribbon seam there. You add it on to this part with the 1/4 inch seam allowance. But if you're making view B, again for this pattern, you will cut your pattern right down to here, and then you have 1 inch of hem allowance there. So now remember at the beginning of this video I mentioned the sizing on the back of the pattern compared to the actual finished size of the garment. Well, this is what I'm talking about. So if I get the garment packet here, it says here measurement of finished garment size at the fullest part of the chest. So like I said, I'm typically a large, But the large on here, when it is actually finished at the fullest part of the chest, is 50 inches. That is almost 10 inches too big. So I need to find a measurement that is closest to my chest size. So in here it is extra small, 41 inches. So on the back of this pattern, it says the chest for the large is 42 inches, but the actual finished size, once the pattern is all constructed with your seam allowance, is 50 inches. So this is what I meant when I said at the beginning to refer to your actual finished size on the pattern before you buy fabric, because this is what is true and this is what this pattern is actually for. Here, as it says, this is just standard body measurements, not what the actual pattern is. I know it's so stupid, like I wish that they put this on there, because then you don't have to open up the pattern to look. Like I said, you can still buy fabric going from what it says on the back of the packet. I do that, but it's just annoying, isn't it? It's just like, just put this there, like it's just not much to ask. So when it comes to, you can buy fabric by looking at this, but when it actually comes to cutting out your pattern pieces, be sure to look at this first, and this is typically on the front bodice because that is the main part and where it's going to finish at the bust. Again, here you have what pattern piece it is. This is piece number 1. It tells you this is for view A and B. This is the front, and you need to cut one placed on the fold. Again, it will tell you that your hem allowance is included. This pattern is 1/4 inch. Again, shorten length and line, and here you have the notches. So this is where the front of the raglan sleeve will connect. So this is the front part of the bodice where you will see that raglan sleeve. So what did I say about the front being 1 notch? So you have 1 notch there. Here next door you have the back. Again, it gives you short and length and line, it gives you the grain line, everything like that. But because this is the back, and this is where the back of the raglan sleeve will attach, you have a double notch. So do not forget that the front is 1 notch and the back is 2 notches. That is very important, because otherwise if you get it the wrong way around, you will have a really funny looking and funny shaped sleeve. That's just a couple more things I wanted to run past, because I've pretty much gone over the basics. I'm hoping this makes sense. It should. Like I said, patterns are really basic when you get used to them. Here are a couple of, I call them style lines, simply because it's, you know, pockets and stuff, just features of the pattern. This is the pocket placement for view B. So again, you would place the top of the pocket. If you were making it extra small, you place it here. And these you actually don't cut. You will mark that on the fabric. And then again here, when you're cutting out your sizes, depending on what view you're making, if you are creating view A, so if you're creating the sweater, you would cut along all the size you need, and then you would come down to these dashed lines on your size and then cut across. If you were creating view B, the hoodie, you'd cut out the size you need by going down here and then come down to here and cut across. And that's pretty much everything. Every single line is really clear. Every single line is marked, so if you guys are confused, it will probably say. But I really hope this video has helped you in some way. And like I said, it's really simple when you get used to it. It's not hard at all, but I think it's just something that some people need help with, because all of this information and writing and lines can be really mind-bending at first. But hopefully this video has shown you it's actually really simple. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed. I do want to say a big thank you for all the love on my last video, which was the overlockers for beginners video. It has really helped a lot of you guys out, and I'm so happy to see that, because when I work hard on videos and then when it really pays off by helping you guys out, it really does mean the world to me when I see your feedback and how my videos are helping you. So thank you guys so much for all the love on that. Also, thank you guys so much for 300 subscribers. I really appreciate it, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds, because I'm growing faster than I thought, and I'm really happy, and I'm really appreciative and really proud of it. So thank you guys so much for all of that, and I really hope this video has helped you guys when it comes to sewing patterns. Like I said, I wanted to go through everything about them, all the basics, everything you need to know. So I really hope this video has allowed you guys to not feel as intimidated by them, because like I said in the beginning, I felt really intimidated by sewing patterns when I first started. So I'm hoping this video helped you guys in any way. If it did, please let me know below and give me your guys' feedback, because I really love hearing from you. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, or if you learned something from it. Please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell icon next to the subscribe button so you guys will get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. And also be sure to follow me down below on Instagram. It is linked down below in the description box, because on there you will see behind the scenes of me on these videos. You will see what I'm doing when I'm not filming videos, when I'm draping, and behind the scenes of just my daily life. And I also show a lot of me in university and more of in an industry standard fashion sewing setting. So that is really exciting for you guys to see. So again, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.